Most people think being quiet is harmless. They call it calm. They call it deep. They call it maturity. But there's a side to quiet no one warns you about. Because the problem isn't that quiet people don't speak. The problem is that, over time, they start living lives no one really enters, including themselves. And that cost doesn't show up all at once. It shows up slowly, quietly, in ways that feel normal, until one day they don't. Have you noticed the quietest people are often the most misunderstood? Not because they're mysterious, but because they stopped correcting the story others told about them. This isn't about shyness. It's not about introversion, and it's definitely not about being soft-spoken. It's about what silence becomes when it's learned instead of chosen. This is Clarity Quest, a place for reflection, and this is a quiet exploration of how silence slowly turns into survival. Most quiet people don't remember the moment they became this way. There was no big decision, no single night they decided to disappear, just a series of small lessons. The time you spoke and were ignored, the time you shared an opinion and were corrected instead of heard, the time expressing too much made things worse, not better. So you adapted. You learned to speak less, to think more, to filter everything before it left your mouth. At first, it felt safe. But here's the part no one talks about. Silence that starts as protection can slowly become identity. And once that happens, you stop asking whether it's still serving you. There's a dangerous illusion quiet people fall into. They think silence equals wisdom, that holding back means emotional control. But over time, restraint quietly slides into self-erasure. You don't just hold back words, you hold back reactions, preferences, needs, boundaries, until people stop knowing where you end. And the most unsettling part? You don't feel like anyone is ignoring you. You think you're fine. Psychologists have a name for this: micro-invalidations. Small moments when your feelings or thoughts go unnoticed, not because anyone is cruel, but because you never taught them it mattered. Quiet people experience these more than others. Every time you let something pass, every time you don't make a big deal, you reinforce a pattern. You will adapt. Others don't have to. And this happens in your brain too. Neuroscience shows quiet people often have higher brain activity in areas that monitor and predict outcomes. In simple terms, while everyone else talks, quiet people are calculating, running through what will happen if they speak, what might go wrong, what could be misunderstood. It looks calm on the outside, but inside, their brain is working overtime. Studies show this kind of constant mental control can increase stress levels, even if you never feel tense. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Quiet people often confuse being liked with being undemanding, so they become agreeable, low maintenance, easy to be around. And slowly, that becomes their value, not their insight, not their depth, just their absence of friction. And relationships built on minimal disruption don't grow deeper, they stay surface level, safe, but lonely. Let's pause here. Imagine a simple scene. Someone interrupts you. In one version, you speak up, calmly, briefly, clearly. In the other, you stay silent, not because you don't care, because you've trained yourself not to react. Which version teaches people how to treat you? Which version feels safer, but costs you more? This is the moment most scripts would reassure you. They'd say, it's okay, this is just who you are. But that's the lie that keeps the pattern alive, because not all quiet is chosen. Some of it is conditioned. Conditioned silence forms when speaking up repeatedly leads to tension, misunderstanding, or rejection. So you stop offering your thoughts, your needs, your reactions. You retreat into the safety of invisibility. Research shows this pattern starts young. Children who grow up where emotional expression is dismissed develop strong inner worlds, but weaker social presence. They learn to process inside. They don't learn to enter space. As adults, these people are often praised for being thoughtful, but inside, there's a quiet loneliness, because being unseen feels safer than being rejected, until one day it doesn't. Here's the hidden cost few people acknowledge. Silence doesn't just protect you from conflict, it protects others from knowing you. And over time, people stop trying, not because they're cruel, but because you trained them not to expect it. By the time quiet people notice something is wrong, it sounds like this: I feel disconnected, even around people. I don't feel known. I feel invisible. And that hurts, because there's no single cause. It was built slowly, like erosion. There is a difference between intentional quiet and adaptive silence. Intentional quiet has choice behind it. Adaptive silence has fear. One restores energy, the other drains it. Once you notice the difference, something changes. Awareness removes innocence. You can't unknow this. This doesn't mean you need to become louder or sharper or more assertive. It means you need to notice where your silence is automatic, where it's no longer a choice, just a reflex. And the moment you see it, you're standing on the edge of a choice. Quiet people often wait for permission to speak. But permission rarely comes, not because others don't care, but because you taught them not to expect it. And once you notice it, the cost of staying silent is no longer neutral, it becomes participation. This is Clarity Quest, and this reflection isn't asking you to change who you are. It's asking you to notice whether the quiet you're carrying is still yours, or something you learned and never questioned again. Because silence can be peaceful, but silence without choice slowly turns into disappearance. And now that you see it, the next moment you stay quiet will never feel the same.